The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling,
whether you like it or you don't like it,
needs us. So one of the people responsible for the creation of AEW, when it was an infancy, when it was just an idea, he was part of the conversations. He was deeply entrenched into the entire build-up of this new promotion that is now, in all respects, it is a form of competition. Now, we know it is not the level of competition that WWE would say they've had with the likes of WCW, but it is close. It is as close as it has ever been for any wrestling promotion to get to where they got in such a short amount of time. And one of those people that you have to give credit to is Cody Rhodes. But now he's leaving, and, you know, much like his finisher, the Crossroads, he decides to go ahead and leave. There's no chance to re-sign a contract with him, and so Cody's contract has expired, and he is now a free agent. So there's a couple of things that can happen on this. Number one, he could take that free agency, and he could do what Bobby Lashley, what Drew McIntyre, and what several others have been able to do by going to other promotions. And with a chip on their proverbial shoulder, they're going to show Vince, hey, you let me go out and make myself a better wrestler, a better star outside of the company, and now I'm back to be a bigger star for you. Cody Rhodes could very well be able to do the same thing, much like Christian did. Much like, you know, it really, that's what it comes down to. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley are the best examples where Cody Rhodes can fit in the same class of stars, because Cody was around going back to 2005, I think it was, when he started, and he was there for 10 years. And he put in a lot of work, and people are familiar with his work in WWE because it goes all the way to Stardust. Like, he was there, and he has won some gold there, and he's been in some feature storylines. They put a lot of capital into Cody Rhodes. I mean, early on, I remember, was when he was teamed up with Hardcore Holly, and then after that, Legacy. And there was a lot there. There was obviously something to be done where they were trying to build new stars, and Cody Rhodes was one of them. And for him to come back now, if he decides to do that at 36 years old, it's not against anyone's mind that he couldn't do it and come back. And at a moment when WWE really needs star power right now, Cody Rhodes can give a boost to them. He can have a level of stardom right now that a Kevin Owens, a Seth Rollins, a Randy Orton has right now. He will not be the level of Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar, but he can be a featured match at WrestleMania, and he can be featured without a belt. I think you would just need to make sure to acknowledge, and Vince will have to go ahead and acknowledge his AEW run. He has to acknowledge that where he's come back from. So much like how Drew McIntyre was a three-man band on the way out of WWE, he came back. He's now the Scottish Warrior. And with Bobby Lashley, you know, it was a one-dimensional character. He comes back, and now he's definitely been stepped up his game. He's much more menacing. He's done a lot more to really, it was kind of a nice guy persona, and now Bobby Lashley came back from Impact Wrestling and from Bellator with an edge. And he didn't have that before he left WWE. With Cody Rhodes, I think you're getting a grizzled veteran with lots of experience, a second-generation wrestler with a name synonymous with Rhodes. It's synonymous with the company. It would make, there would be no, I don't think it would be any shock to anyone to see Cody Rhodes make that move over. So we can see if, hey, the rumors are abound that maybe he's going to go to WrestleMania. Now we're hearing Stone Cold might be called up to come to WrestleMania because they got to sell tickets for Dallas, Texas. So WrestleMania is going to get more exciting. And they're going to do some things. WWE is going to try to go ahead and pull some rabbits out of their hat. What do they have left? There are not many other tricks they have in their bag. Remember, the bag that I told you of tricks that they had their greatest hits, bringing back legends, bringing back stars that haven't been around for a while, all that, all hands on deck. Well, they need that now to be able to fill 2 nights in Dallas, Arlington, Texas Stadium, AT&T Stadium. They have to be able to do it. And right now, it looks like they only got about half the capacity taken care of on pre-sale tickets for WrestleMania. And they're, 8 weeks away? So, or no, less than that. 7 weeks. They have to get this done. No, actually, we're around 6 weeks now. They have to get this done. So, a few more names are going to have to get added after Elimination Chamber this weekend, which will have some determining factors to see what happens with WrestleMania and see some of our other main event matches being put into shape based on what the Elimination Chamber matches hold. The other 2 main event titles, singles titles, are going to be given opponents. We'll know what the number 1 contenders for both of those matches are. We'll get that answer come Saturday at Elimination Chamber. Could Cody Rhodes be brought in at some point? Because he is full contract, no complete clauses or nothing like that. He could come in at any time. And could he also go to New Japan Pro Wrestling? Absolutely. Could he go back to New Japan and work Ring of Honor's show, a Supercard of Honor, and come back and really put a big boost to that? But everybody's betting that Cody's going to go to WWE. That's the highest end for what he has done, the amount of capital, the amount of value he's created for himself since leaving WWE and going to Ring of Honor, going to New Japan, making his way to create AEW. There has to be a little bit of respect given to the man for what he's done. Him and Brandi Rhodes, his wife. You have to give the credit there. Because I'm going to explain why. I mean, when I thought about Cody Rhodes leaving, I did not think I was shocked about him going. But what I thought was the mission that he wanted to accomplish, I would imagine, along with Tony Khan's help, his grateful, generous help. The vision that was made that Cody was obviously had a hand in was to create a rival promotion where other wrestlers could, trade their craft at a time when WWE is no longer looking to be a haven of professional wrestling, but sports entertainment, and fully embrace sports entertainment and not even worry about the stars that come from wrestling organizations, bringing in indie stars, bringing in veterans of that ilk. They're not doing that anymore. The door is closed on them. Therefore, the forbidden door opens in AEW, and a lot of stars have been given the chance over there. And you know what? It's a place to go and work and be on television and be as big a star as we know, because we see a lot of former WWE stars that have left and have gone over to AEW. But AEW is smart enough, and this is where I think the other thing's got to be considered, is that we're not going to see WCW again. That's not going to happen. This company is following along the footsteps of what not to do. What WCW did. What WCW did. And what TNA did previously when their opportunities were there to stay consistently as rivals. With WCW's mistake, Eric Bischoff wanted to beat Vince McMahon and put him out of business. With TNA, they just decided to go ahead and try to escalate themselves when they weren't even close to being ready to be at that level. But they tried, and they failed miserably. And they had poor leadership in the point of Dixie Carter allowing this to happen. Otherwise, who knows what would happen? They lost faith in Jeff Jarrett, and they decided here. So AEW is now standalone, a successful wrestling promotion. They are now the indisputable number 2 wrestling promotion in the world, at least in North America, and on television in North America. They're the number 2 company with pretty respectable ratings in their run, a very respectable time slots and networks, and they're pulling live shows pretty well. They're drawing fans. They're doing it smart. And they've been working at a good pace. Like, they really have overachieved themselves. But they know they have. And they're aware of it. And they've done a great job with it. So I got to go back and just make the mention of what Cody did. But I want to also go ahead real quickly. I want to go into too much detail into the announcement of their leaving, because it's there. We could talk about it. But really, when I look at what he decided to do and just step down from this, I was surprised that this happened, but I wasn't shocked that he would make the decision to go. Never thought it was much of that anyways. Now, since the announcement that Cody and Brandi were leaving AEW, new details that have been reported through the wrestling wires. So the initial part was Tony Khan makes a point and says that Cody and Brandi Rhodes were integral to the launch of AEW. His ability, combined with his boldness and passion for the industry and his love for community outreach, helped AEW deliver on our mission to give fans what they needed for far too long, something new, innovative, and lasting. Brandi helped shape the story. I'm not going to go into the rest of the detail, but that is where we are now with this. Tony Khan, in the statement, gives the credit to Cody that he has gotten. He cares about wrestling. He has his father's passion for wrestling. And one thing I think would be understood is that there had to be, for WWE to be honest, and for wrestlers to have a good chance to survive out there and know that for a number of years, right? I mean, for a good 5-6 years, when TNA went down and started to decline and WWE was just by itself, we saw the decline in the way the product was going, a continued staggering decline, and we've complained about it, especially on this program, because by the time this program came on in 2012, TNA was already in decline, and there was no way for that to come back. And so wrestlers that wanted to ply their trade and wanted to be able to make money, you had to go to WWE or nowhere else, or just struggle and scramble to scrap up enough money to make something of yourselves. That was never extremely difficult. So they tried. And so what happened was we needed to have someplace else to go. So what happened was we started seeing around, what was it, around 2013, 2014, what New Japan was doing. And when New Japan opened the door for certain stars to start coming over, American stars, and started building things up. Now, we already had American stars over there, but we started seeing a little more American infusion on stars over there, with Wrestle Kingdom getting the most notice. Then after that kind of mentality, it's like, well, look at the stars that are out there that could be working in North America, but where are they going to go? Well, for a little while, there was a great relationship between New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor, for a number of years, they couldn't pull the size crowds or pull the TV exposure that a TNA got with Spike TV, nor what AEW has now with TNT and TBS. But to their credit, their pay-per-views meant something. People were talking about them. Cody, Young Bucks, Adam Page, Jay White, Jay Lethal, Briscoes. I mean, there was just so many great matches that came in, plus the stars that came in to work from New Japan, from Okada to Naito. I mean, just Tomohiro Ishii. There was just so much that came in. And then you have all this happening, and then you're saying to yourself, then you see some of the matches that came out that were just incredible with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura and all this going on. And so NXT, for the credit of Triple H, he saw what was going on in New Japan, started picking off talent. But then what about the rest of that talent? There was still a very upper tier of talent that was not getting picked up by WWE because they didn't want to go. They might have tried out, they might have considered, but they didn't want to go. And I don't blame them. But also, there are these loyalist, WWE fans that would have loved for everybody to just go work in WWE. that they're all supposed to go work there and they're all supposed to get pushed right. Well, you know what? WWE doesn't work that way. And I don't know how many times it's going to take for me to do another episode like I did last week to explain this. But WWE is a different entity now. They're a content company. They're a $1 billion company making $1 billion a year. They're not going to make $1 billion, according to them, with CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, Keith Lee, Malachi Black. They're not going to make money off of them. They're not going to make billions of dollars with them. But their machine and the stars that they can build without the need of these wrestling trainers out there, old school or new school or whatever they are, they're not going to take stars that were built in wrestling schools outside of their domain. They're going to build stars that are within their domain. They have been done in that performance center, that multi-billion-dollar performance center that's just magical. It's a combine, a training facility. It's a retreat where all these new stars are going to learn to eat, breathe, sleep, and repeat WWE, period. They're not going to have any habits that are formed outside of there that will not be conducive to what Vince's mission is. That's what is going to be done. Cody Rhodes already went through that process. And he's one of those stars that said, you know what? He felt for the other wrestlers he was working with. And somehow, some way, somebody brought up the idea. Can we make a wrestling promotion of our own? Enter All In. Game changer. And then everything else changed after that. Then we had basically the swan song of Ring of Honor and its chance to be a bigger promotion with the Ring of Honor G1 Supercard with New Japan selling out Madison Square Garden. When the only other company had done that in the last, couple of decades was, the WWE. That's it. And even they right now can't sell out Madison Square Garden. So that's what they did. Now, there's a few reasons they say that Cody had issues, but this is all pal-centric, and it doesn't matter so much, but I'll at least talk about it. I don't mind saying a couple of things, but here's what's being reported out there. TMZ reporting is that there was a falling out between Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan, and TMZ reported that sources told them that there was a fallout. Dave Meltzer noted there were lawyers involved, and Cody and Brandi officially split after weeks of talks. And the first person that Cody thanked in his statement when he was announcing he was leaving was Tony Khan. And Cody said he's taken a baton and run with it, and it was an honor to work with him and know him on a personal level. Well, I'll put it like this. I think Tony Khan taking the reins of the company was the right move anyway. Tony Khan has been smart to take over and to limit the amount of the committee of leadership with executive vice presidents with Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, and Cody Rhodes. I think that was extremely smart. The guy is a businessman, and he understands that one person has to have the pencil. And when they did do by committee, it was during a certain time and a certain honeymoon period for this company to get itself off the ground. And so they did have to work by committee to get off the ground. And now that they have a certain roster of talent, and they already have pretty much a set of storylines, Tony Khan was able to go ahead, get himself into that wrestling business, train from the ground up, and now he's the booker. He's got the pencil, he's running the storylines, and he's got a lot of help with him to help things out. And he's got a lot of veteran talent to help train, mentor, and hone the talents of the stars that are coming on the way up. And he's got a lot of free agents, he's got a lot of veteran talent that were free agents during the mass exodus created by WWE of releases, and strategically planning on who stars that were designated to help enhance new stars while keeping their status strong, and stars that never got to live up to the potential that we all know they should have had. Because those are two categories we have right there. When you look at Malachi Black, you look at Andrade, you look at Keith Lee, those are examples, and Adam Cole, those are stars that never reached their full potential in the WWE. They never did. But AEW plans to take advantage of them and take the best of the gimmicks that they had already coming in, tweak them, personalize them for their own, and build them up to be stars. Already having star power because the fan base that has been created for this. That's also Cody's doing as well. The fan base that came into this. They built a fan base because of a revolution that Cody called it. And all the AEW fans, the diehards, whether right or wrong, they're all signed up to the fact that we're going to give you what you want. We understand that WWE has not been giving you what you want, and you have stars that don't get the pushes they need, that they're supposed to have, because they deserve it. Not because they're entitled, not because it's some kind of a granted or rewarding kind of system. No, because they earned it. They work their asses hard. They're great talent, and they need to be on a stage that is suitable for them. So AEW has created that stage in a short amount of time. No other promotion is going to push that quickly to get you on television and to put you out there in front of thousands. Hey, maybe it's not the 15 to 20 to 30 to 100,000 people that WWE could do with whatever events they hold, but they're getting you in front of 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. That's what's important. Now, we know there was a lot of talk that Cody was a free agent because he was still a part of storylines, but he was not under a deal, basically under a handshake. So we didn't know what was going to happen after that. Now, Cody and Brandi left in 2016, and they were some of the key people signed when AEW formed the company. But either which way, you could say, well, Cody's going to go back after he, took a sledgehammer to the throne, a diss to Triple H, maybe some other shots taken. Well, that's just part of the art of war. I mean, if you're fighting the same fight, sometimes, you go back to the original, it's like going back to the original family that you went to. You proved yourself outside of the circle. You proved that you could get your take, you could earn your worth, and you can make yourself a bigger star. And you show Vince, see, I can be a star without you. Now it's not that I need you, you need me. And Cody Rhodes can now claim that. And he can ask for a lot of money if he wants to, or they can throw a lot of money at him because WWE is in bad need of star power right away. Any kind of star power. Cody has it. People might not want to think that way, but he does. And they don't even have to do anything to utilize the fact he was in AEW. The fans will do that for themselves. I don't think they're going to go ahead and, chant AEW in the arena. But I think what they will do is Cody's going to come out there. You get him out there, put him out there as himself, the son of a plumber. The son of a plumber. Put him out there as Dusty's son. And let him speak from the heart and say, listen, I went away and I worked on a lot of things because I wanted to work on myself, and I wanted to prove myself that I was worthy of this business of wrestling. And I wanted to, and basically say, you wanted to prove to Vince that he was wrong for letting me go. Vince was wrong. And I bet there would be nothing better than Cody trying to do that. What else does he need to accomplish? And by the way, he could always go back. Maybe there's some way that AEW might find a way to bring, work together again, where Cody and Tony Khan might work together again. I think that door might be open, but we don't know what it was. But when you have this company coming together and all the money that's coming in and now the responsibilities coming in, this is not a small promotion anymore. This is a full-time promotion. Of course, there's going to be some changes, and there's going to be some structural changes. Some infrastructure is going to change, and that's what happened. So the way that Cody and everything was running, everything before the all-in format, that's gone. We're not getting that again. But what we have right now is a great version of what the initial all-in pay-per-view was supposed to create. The intention, the original evolution has fostered into this really wonderful promotion that AEW has become. It is not WWE. It's not at the level yet. It's getting there. It's still going to have another 10 to 15, 20 years before it to be at the level of making billions of dollars at what the WWE can. But maybe they're not going to do that. But what needs to happen for AEW is they need to be able to keep their broadcast partners happy, which it sounds like they are, and continue to build their audience. And there's obviously other things they could plan out. They could have enough content in their library already over the last couple of years where they could start a subscription service. They could start their own where they could get themselves on some kind of streaming platform for their pay-per-views. Move outside of Bleacher Report and move themselves to, say, HBO Max. Partner with them because it's under the same umbrella. Warner Media Discovery. Who knows? Or Discovery. Who knows where it could be? But something has to happen there. And AEW could be a great component for another streaming service. The same way that Peacock decided to acquire WWE Network, well, AEW could have their own thing set up as well and move themselves over because they're going to get to be too big for Fight, too big for Pro Wrestling Tees, and all those other outlets. Like AEW is their own entity now, and they're becoming such a big promotion, they're going to have to formulate themselves differently, and who knows what they'll have to do. So that's everything that's happening there. Wade Keller and PW Torch, he talked about this issue on his VIP.com radio show. And Wade Keller said, from what I'm told, Cody asked for more money than what Tony Khan was willing to spend. And he also said that he had how Brandi Rhodes was viewed backstage. And, Wade Keller was just being wishy-washy as he always is. But he says that, Brandi has not been seen as an asset on camera and the ringer behind the scenes, and that ended up being baggage with Cody because people like Cody, pretty universally like Cody. Even people who say bad things about Cody like Cody, if that makes sense. But Cody wanted to be a superstar, and AEW signing big money contracts with the likes of Bryan Danielson and CM Punk changed the dynamic to a degree with Cody. So he's trying to say that it was now the free agent talent that's coming in and what they're being paid, and Cody deserved to be at the same level. So he could very well said that. But if it was Cody Rhodes, to me, I'm surprised he didn't have any personal stake in the actual business itself instead of just being a contracted talent. I mean, if he's part of the office, then why isn't he more involved into getting some kind of a percentage of what comes in? Something more of that as opposed to getting a contract with a salary. I don't understand that part, but there's a discussion where that when Jon Moxley got signed, everything was fine. When Jericho got signed, that was also fine too, because the acquisitions were important to help solidify the reputation and to really give some integrity that there was some quality talent coming into AEW, and it wasn't just all indie talent that people really weren't familiar with. Because now there's more than enough talent that people are familiar with on AEW, plus the talent they've built homegrown since the beginning. So, if it's just a matter of a contract thing, I don't think that's much of a big deal. Like, there might have been a little bit of bickering because of the fact that Cody, thought he should be. It's just like on a TV show. Somebody becomes a certain star above them, but they were the original, lead star in the show. Yeah, to expect, if you're going to pay this person this much, then I expect this much. It's common practice. Because Cody knew also in his back pocket, if he wanted to go and go, he already has other things going on in the mix where he does go big show. And we'll see what happens with him staying on that. He has this reality show, Rose to the Top, which, even though it's on TNT, it could always continue even with Cody Rhodes going somewhere else. And it's not an AEW. Because I guess the deal he made is not an AEW program. But it's promoted on AEW anyway. But that's another point. All I know is it's not a big deal that Cody left AEW to me as a talent. I don't think that makes much. I mean, it does. It's a significant difference. But I'm not going to go on here like some of my fellow podcasting brethren and make a big stink about it and just talk about that. No. I'd like to think of what Cody left behind and what he did. That's what I want to talk about. Because I think there's a lot to be said about what happened to this company and how they were built up. Now, one story I want to take here that really helps explain my point about how much Cody meant to AEW and what he left behind. There's not much more that he needed to accomplish, right? There wasn't anything else he had to do. He was gone 6 years, almost 6 years to the day. And with everything that was done with this promotion, when you go down the line, the revolution he created, he was one of the people that helped to ostensibly, that's a big Scrabble word, force Vince to consider another wrestling company competition. You can't say he didn't. NXT was a casualty. The black and gold NXT was thrown out there as cannon fodder. They used the artillery that was NXT, a secondary promotion with a developmental feel to it that Triple H had created. And look, Triple H and NXT, they could have succeeded past AEW. They were going head-to-head. Did they have to go head-to-head? No. But they did. And if you want to take credit, or if you want to go ahead and complain about the fact that NXT lost to AEW in the Wednesday Night Wars, it's because of the fact that NXT, Vince rather say, okay, I want to see how good this talent that Triple H has down here. These people are getting all these takeovers. They're coming out 20,000 a pop, and they're overshadowing my WrestleManias, my Royal Rumbles, my Survivor Series. Okay, let's put them on TV. Let's put them on live. Let's put them on 2 hours. I'm going to pull the Ted Turner move. We're going to talk to USA. And it's like Eric Bischoff. When Ted Turner says, give me prime time, Eric asks, and what does Ted Turner do? Give him Monday night prime time against Monday Night Raw. So Vince McMahon pulled the Ted Turner card. He says, okay, you're going up head-to-head against Dynamite. We're going to give you a 2-week bump to get ready for it. But we're going to get you on USA Network. We're getting $40 million a year for it, and you're going up against them live. 2 hours. Take out AEW. Mission failed. That's why NXT got broken up. Cody Rhodes was partially responsible for the black and gold NXT falling apart because competition was made. And what Vince would consider the weaker competition that he thought would be able to go ahead and, swat this pestering little mess of an all-in, this T-shirt company. Oh, we'll take care of them. Triple H threw that little remark at the Hall of Fame. T-shirt company. Well, Triple H's words were met with competition. They were met head-to-head. They were met with a sledgehammer to the throne. A shot across the bow. That's Cody Rhodes doing that as he came out. All I can tell you is they did something special. Now, with everything that was going on, back when Dynamite was premiering, Andy Murray over at What Culture put a little timeline together, the creation of AEW. Cody was walking May 22nd, 2016. 22nd, right? He becomes the star that left him in the dust. He competed primarily on main event and superstars when he was let go. He was frustrated by his perceived misuse and WWE's insistence to persist with the Stardust character long past his sell-by date. And he was released with some other talent that is still working out there. Wade Barrett, who came back and working NXT, ironically. Damian Sandow, who's in NWA, is Aaron Stevens, is his original name, right? And then came the infamous Dream List of opponents. Cody Rhodes then left out of there and says, okay, I want to go ahead and take on Adam Cole, Kurt Angle, Young Bucks, Zack Sabre Jr., which he got to wrestle in his first post-WWE match on August 19th of that year. And then Cody Rhodes and Dave Meltzer placing their bets. May 16, 2017. If Cody Rhodes doesn't leave, it's highly unlikely he ever goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, meets Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, joins the Elite, and helps form AEW. And then we had the Elite, part of the Bullet Club. As New Japan Pro Wrestling's U.S. expansion was taking shape, the Elite were one of the sport's most buzzworthy groups. True competition had been dead for close to 2 decades. It was a crazy idea. So the event would come from a Ring of Honor pay-per-view to a self-promoted affair during this time. Cody, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Brandi Rhodes, and Stephen Amell all confirmed. December 2017 brought the announcement they were looking for venues. January 2018, a September 1st date was confirmed. Chicago Sears Center named the venue 2 months later. And then by the time they put tickets out, sold out in 5 minutes? Something crazy like that? September 1st, 2018, the vision is made clear. It actually comes to fruition. All in. 10,000 tickets. 30 minutes it got sold. Kota Ibushi, Kazuchika Okada, Pentagon Jr., and others confirmed. You had the YouTube series pushing before the September 1st event. And it would become the first non-WWE or WCW event to break 10,000 ticket sales. They shifted it to 11,263 since 1983. So in that time, they were able to make that happen. Almost 3 decades. Somebody else was able to put together a full-scale, large-scale professional wrestling event. There was a post-show promo that Cody had said promising, we're sticking together. Not one entity, not one company owns pro wrestling. We own pro wrestling. Moving along. Trademarks were filed November 5th, 2018. Then there was the offer in December 2018, which was reported about on Bruce Pritchard's Something to Wrestle podcast. Cody claimed he turned down a fresh WWE contract offer. I would love to know how much he was offered to not go forward with what was going on here. And then 1 week later, the Young Bucks had done the same, suggesting they were on the verge of starting their own promotion. So WWE actually tried to kind of shoot off any chances for some kind of other promotion. They had offered deals to them, but it was too late. December 2018, the Elite said goodbye to Ring of Honor. Their contracts had expired. They had wrestled farewell matches of the 2018 Final Battle tapings, and nothing was stopping them to start working on their own promotion. Then we have Being the Elite on January 1st, 2019, and the lead up to Dynamite. One thing that was also important, too, was that we had Wrestle Kingdom 13, where Kenny Omega took on Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Omega and his contract was set to expire later in the month of January. Tanahashi would win for the 8th time the IWGP Heavyweight title, vanquishing Kenny in the Tokyo Dome. So Kenny was a free agent. The Cleaner was open to go and join and go on. January 8, 2019, Jericho comes out, Kenny Omega comes out, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, and the announcement at TIA Bank Field, the big press conference comes out, and we know that AEW is becoming a promotion. And their first event would be Double or Nothing, May 25th of that year. Then they secured a TV deal May 2019 with TNT to debut October 2nd. I mean, who thought they were going to get to go on TNT in the first place, where WCW lived for, what was it, 95 to 2001, 6 years. And then Double or Nothing, May 25th, 2019. 11,000 tickets sold, around an hour and a half during the pre-sale. Pay-per-view buy rate was between 98,500 and 113,000 buys. Best since ECW's best-selling show. And the most successful pay-per-view ever produced by a company not named WWE or WCW. And then we get to the start of Dynamite, and really just some incredible work, even during the pandemic and all that happened with that, to get to where we are now. They survived the pandemic. They have built upon, with all these new contracts and all these new stars that have come in, all this hype that has come into this company. Cody Rhodes has to be considered most responsible for what happened here. He did it. It's on him. And it's great that he did. It's a wonderful thing to see. And I'm glad that it all came to fruition like it did. So you have to give credit for the fact that Cody Rhodes did so much for this company and his mission. There were goals that were set. We got to be able to go and fill out. We got to be able to sell out, that first event. We got to get the talent to come on board. We got to get the promotion started. We got to get that first pay-per-view that's going to lock us in. We got to get that TV deal. Get that second TV show. We're off and running. And they have set a great system in place. I could always nitpick what AEW does, but they are as good a wrestling promotion as there is out there. And by the way, I don't put myself out there and act super critical about what they're doing. The same thing, I don't do that with the other promotions. But look, there's great talent in other promotions out there. Ring of Honor had it. Maybe they'll get that back. NWA has quite a bit of promotional, and some great promotions right now with what they're doing. I like what they're doing right now. Just heard on the Power Trip tapings this weekend, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, right? Or Oak Grove, Tennessee. Matt Cardona is your new NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. He holds 10 pounds of gold now. Wow. Always ready, Matt Cardona. Talk about a guy that has made his way with a chip on his shoulder. See, he's at the point where Cody Rhodes was back in 2017. That is where Matt Cardona is now. And there are other because Matt Cardona did not go the AEW route. Brian Myers didn't. And there are others that didn't do that way. But interesting, where Matt Cardona has worked Impact Wrestling, he works NWA, he works GCW. He's working. And now he's an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And now he takes on Nick Olds at the Crockett Cup, the national treasure. I got to tell you, man, it is fun. I am so happy. Thank you, Billy Corgan, William Patrick Corgan. Thank you so much for bringing NWA Power and USA onto YouTube once again. Thank you, my friend. I am so happy NWA's back. And it's just the fact that I get to enjoy the National Wrestling Alliance again. I get to talk about the National Wrestling Alliance again. It's wonderful. I love it. So we have, Impact Wrestling. I love it. I went to the show. They're enjoyable right now. I wonder what's going to happen when Ring of Honor and the Honor No More thing and Jonathan Gresham, they go ahead and go back to their original brand with a good little, bump, a lot of hype coming in to Supercard of Honor, hopefully, if all those stars are going to be re-signed and brought back into the mix. That's what I'm curious about. But in the meantime, wrestling is good. And the best part is that AEW decided to work with other promotions, which is indicative of what Cody Rhodes got to do with the Young Bucks and others. New Japan, Ring of Honor, other places. They all got to do that. Think of this. In WrestleMania season, when you have Stone Cold Steve Austin rumored to come to WrestleMania, when you have all these different things that are going on with what matches might get announced and all the matches being set up for Elimination Chamber, and Cody Rhodes leaving AEW has overshot the headlines of every wrestling news outlet and every podcast out there. That tells you how big a deal Cody Rhodes is. And by the way, I never cared to all that crap that some people out there in the podcast wrestling world. Listen, my podcast wrestling brother, I know of some names, which I'm not going to repeat on this show, that were just adamant and complaining about Cody Rhodes being this sanctimonious jerk, for what he did and how he was treating, he was, shooting back at WWE and the things that he said. Because they're loyalists to WWE, even though they complain about them all the time, they are offended and they are triggered by the fact that another wrestling promotion, oh, God forbid, another wrestling promotion comes in and tinkers with Vince McMahon's toy. Vince McMahon's a big boy. He can handle another wrestling promotion coming in and coming into his turf. But remember, WWE is not even in their league right now. In terms of, if you look at both of them as wrestling promotions, then they are. But WWE is on another level. They've been on another level. Okay, if WWF or WWE was what it was in the Attitude Era, might be a different story. But then again, I don't know what kind of ratings AEW could have had if there was no WCW and AEW was what like it was now. We could never determine that. We're not going to play, fantasy booking on that. But what it comes down to is Cody was critical on making this happen. And that's why I say it was a crossroads. And the fact that he accomplished what he wanted to do. He left AEW, now it's Apex. And there could be a bigger Apex for this company, but now it's in the trusted hands of Tony Khan and his team. And I have faith the AEW is continuing to go and do better. Right now, I'm happy with what it is. I'm not worried about the growth of this company or having to get them to be at the level of WWE. And for those that want it to be like that, go right ahead. I don't care. I like AEW as it is. It's a haven for all this great talent to be somewhere. And hopefully, they continue to keep the door open for other wrestling promotions to work with them. Like NWA, like Ring of Honor, like Impact Wrestling, like New Japan. I'd love to see that continue to happen. Now, they already have enough of their own roster to worry about, so they might not have to worry about that. But AEW obviously is capable of making things happen where they can continue to work with other relationships with other promotions, say a AAA, say a New Japan. I mean, in the meantime, other promotions are going to be out there to work with them. MLW has done a great job working with the likes of AAA. By the way, I cannot believe that Richard Holiday turned heel on Alexander Hammerstone. Alicia Toot, she's a heel. Look at that. Great stuff going on the other wrestling shows. You got to go watch for yourself. And Impact Wrestling, it's been great. They got no surrender this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. I still got to talk about Elimination Chamber now as we go ahead and wrap things up. Last 10 minutes of the Wrestling Conservative podcast. Yeah, did you know where you were listening to that show? Did I mention that? No, I just went right into my rant. Didn't even bother to say anything. So, it's all interesting. Now, Austin, let's talk about this real quick. Dave Meltzer's talking a lot of stuff. Says there's an Austin-level surprise yet to be revealed for WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, Texas. He went on Wrestling Conservative Radio on Tuesday and says he considers it to be The Rock, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair somewhere at that level. Now, there was a mention that Dwayne Johnson and John Cena are both unable to make the show. Cena's unlikely, and he isn't done with WWE by a long shot. But Meltzer also didn't say whether the surprise would be revealed before WrestleMania, and could it be at a match or just an appearance at the show. The other thing that we know is Kevin Owens is teasing something about Texas, bashing Texas, which could prompt Stone Cold Steve Austin to come out of retirement after 19 years and 57 years old. He will come back to the ring. Does anybody understand? Do you think that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to be able to make it back at 57 years old and have like a 10, 12-minute match with Kevin Owens? Do you really think that? Listen, he might look good going up there to grab a couple of beers on the turnbuckles, but to see him do a full match, people are asking for a lot. I don't know how Austin's going to be able to train for that kind of level to be able to do that. I mean, Goldberg alone can only do like about 5-7 minutes without some plunder. So people thinking that Austin can come off of here, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can believe that. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'll believe it when I see it. That's where I'm going to be with that. And I'll tell you what, Eric Beeston, Bleacher Report, actually puts a story about it. He says they should avoid the temptation of a return. So, it's too long to be away. And if you wanted to bring Stone Cold back, it should have been much sooner. You could have done that, you could have done that years ago. You could have done it any time. Put enough money in front of him, but maybe Austin didn't want to do it. It's too late to do this now. And I agree with Eric. Returning for a rush match, even if the opponent is Kevin Owens, tarnishes his legacy. The story will be thrown together, the match will be shoved onto the card rather than being built too gradually, and the program would just be another one on a show full of them rather than providing fans and Austin himself the return scenario they deserve. Too much of a cash grab from a guy who has always been very protective of his character and what it would take to get him back in the ring. Sure, he could be in Texas. He could appear at the show. He could be part of something with it. You could have a scenario where Kevin Owens gets, but he's already been, stunned. We could have that. But we don't need a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you want to have a segment with him, sure. You want to see him in Austin, Texas as like the host? Yeah, sure. And then, make him a host at WrestleMania and then a confrontation with Kevin Owens. You prompt that. But nothing more than that. You don't make a match. There's no way to do that. And if you do, then Stone Cold has to have somebody in his place. You got to have somebody take on Kevin Owens at the behest of Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you want to do it like that, then let Austin accompany somebody to the ring that he thinks could be the opponent for Kevin Owens and build somebody up. But you don't make it Stone Cold himself. Not at 57 years old and not 19 years cold from the ring with all that ring rust. It's impossible. Impossible. I don't believe it at all. So that's what they got to do. All right, let's get into what's coming up this weekend. There's a lot of wrestling this weekend. And, of course, yours truly, King of Podcasts, is going to be doing some post shows for this, depending on how things work out. It really, I don't know how I'm going to make it work, but let's just put it like this. No Surrender is this weekend. I'll quickly go through what they're going to do with that. So far, the card has this. It'll be the Impact World Title, Moose versus W. Morrissey. Honor No More will take on Team Impact in a 10-man tag team match. If Honor No More wins, they will remain in Impact Wrestling. If Team Impact wins, Honor No More will be gone for good. Well, since we're getting up to April 1st in Supercard of Honor, I can see where Honor No More loses this match. But there's a stipulation. There's something there to be looked at. Good Brothers versus Guerrillas of Destiny is for the Impact World Tag Team titles. If Good Brothers lose, they will be officially kicked out of the Bullet Club. Eric Young versus Switchblade Jay White. Black Taurus versus Jonah. And Mark Cardona versus Jordan Grace in a rematch for the Impact Digital Media Championship, of which I got to see Matt Cardona win at the tapings in Fort Lauderdale. Oh, Mickie James and Tasha Steelz for the Impact Knockouts title. That's also in that match. So if I had to pick, pretty obvious, Moose retains. I'll say Honor No More wins because I think they're going to go one more month before, or they're at least going to have them set up. I would imagine they got to get them set up to work at Rebellion, but I don't know if they're going to do that or not. And it would suck that Rebellion comes around the corner in a couple of months and the Honor No More faction and that storyline goes away. Like, it's just got started. But I'd like to see it kept on going and maybe Impact and Ring of Honor work with each other and lapse back and forth. Because then again, if Ring of Honor is only going to be this indie promotion that's going to just bring talent inquired together, almost like how GCW does it, then let's not put Honor No More and bring them back a storyline and contractually put all those people together because Sinclair's not going to put the money together to do it. Or if they do, they could do something where Impact and Ring of Honor work together, which is working so far. Impact Wrestling's ratings are going up. They're over 100,000 viewers again, which is great news. And it's amazing how that was able to happen, even though Kenny Omega and Christian Cage were on TV last year, and there was a fluctuating of the ratings. But right now, they're consistently over 110,000 viewers on Impact Wrestling. So something's going right, and Ring of Honor talent is doing it for them. Now, Mickie James will beat Tasha Steelz. I don't have a doubt in that. I think Good Brothers lose to Guerrillas of Destiny. I think Guerrillas of Destiny win the tag team titles. I think we'll actually get a title change in this pay-per-view. I think Jay White beats Eric Young. I think Jonah beats Black Taurus. And I think Matt Cardona will retain the Digital Media Championship. That's where I think things are. Now, he could very well let it go because he's already got the NWA World's title. I'd like to see, well, Matt Cardona hopefully will carry the NWA World's title, Sweet Charlotte, 10 pounds of gold into No Surrender. I'd love to see that. That would be pretty exciting. So that's where I look at things. So if I get a chance, hopefully I'll get a chance to watch No Surrender afterwards, right here on the post show, and I will have caught Elimination Chamber early in the day, which starts at 12 o'clock. I'll catch up on that. And then I will watch No Surrender. Now, what time is No Surrender at? I don't even know when it's on. Do they say when No Surrender starts up? That's a good question. Okay, start time will be... Well, they haven't given us yet, have they? That's crazy. When are we going to have this on? Let me check out the Impact Plus website and see if they got something up there. Because I don't know when this damn show is going to be on. Oh, it's 8 p.m. Eastern this Saturday. So I will catch up on Elimination Chamber and watch No Surrender, and I should be able to have both shows to watch. And we'll talk about Elimination Chamber and No Surrender on the post show right here at WrestlingIsReal.com. Make sure to go and check that out. Or wherever you find your podcast, I'll have that available for all of you there, okay? Now, moving along to Elimination Chamber this weekend, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Noon Eastern start time. And so far, the matches are as follows. Elimination Chamber for the WWE Championship. And it'll be Bobby Lashley defending against Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Riddle, and AJ Styles. And I'm going to pick Bobby wins. I don't think Brock Lesnar's winning this match. I think he'll get knocked out somewhere. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'd love to see Riddle be the one to eliminate Brock Lesnar. But I want Bobby Lashley to retain this belt. I don't want Brock Lesnar to win this belt. And especially when you got the 6-way, it shouldn't be. Austin Theory, it's a nice spot to go and see him be put here into this level. That's nice. But yeah, Bobby Lashley retains the WWE Championship. For the women's title, actually, this should be the Raw Women's Championship, but they didn't put that on this list right here when I'm looking at Fightful. Becky Lynch versus Lita, and Becky Lynch wins. Pretty clear. SmackDown Tag Team titles, Usos versus Viking Raiders. Usos will win. Roman Reigns versus Goldberg, Universal title. Roman Reigns will win. Drew McIntyre, Madcap Moss, fouls count anywhere. Drew McIntyre will win. And as for, we got Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville. I think Charlotte and Sonya win the match. And it'll be Naomi that takes the pin. Miz versus Rey Mysterio. No edge on this pay-per-view, by the way. I think Miz will get the win on Rey Mysterio. And I think number one contender, Elimination Chamber Raw Women's title, I'm going to take Bianca Belair. Now, we could say Alexa Bliss, but they've kind of worked their way up with the character, and I think they've still got more room to work on before they put her out there after the therapy vignettes. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss. I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss and go from there. And you know what? They could do something where Bianca Belair's brought in a three-way. They could do that. Which I already said before. They could go with a triple threat, and they can go that route. I don't believe in Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Nikki Ash, or Doudrop. Not at all. Not even close. And that's what we got this weekend. So I will do Elimination Chamber this weekend. We'll talk all about that. And No Surrender from Impact Wrestling this weekend, right here on the Wrestling Is Real podcast. Thanks for listening in. Because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Is Real podcast. You can find all previous episodes at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe to the show on all major podcast outlets, including Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at King of Podcasts, and search King of Podcasts on YouTube, or type youtube.com/JBRASCO951. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.